All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Coach Mac, PlayFast Football. Glad you guys could hop on tonight for the 10th anniversary of PlayFast. I decided that I wanted to do YouTube Live tonight instead of doing video today. I will probably do a video, some type of video tomorrow. But I thought it would be better for the loyal followers and the people who jump on live all the time if we went on YouTube Live. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank some of y'all for being along on the ride the last 10 years. Sorry, my voice is maybe a little bit shot. I'm coming down with some kind of, hopefully it's just a cold and not the flu or some type of virus, but hopefully it's something that won't last too long heading into the weekend. But Tony Bananas, how are you, sir? But for all of you who have been followers for the longest time, thank you so much for everything that you do, everything that you've done. This was January 25th, 2013. I was in an office at Ridgeview High School, set up a camera with no idea how to even do so, other than knowing what we did to record our games from the press box. I really didn't know at that time how to load anything to YouTube. Actually had to get help from some other people creating a YouTube channel and then figuring out how to load stuff. So, I kind of started from the absolute basement, and then had a couple good people in my corner that turned me on to Twitter and social media and kind of taught me how to use those different avenues to try and promote things and see if anybody was going to be willing to watch any of that stuff. And interestingly enough, when I first started, the goal behind it was to see if I believed in some of the things we were doing and to see if I thought that I could teach other people, really almost as a self-scout tool, to see if, after 10 or 11 years as a head football coach, was I anywhere near the teacher I thought I was? Could I present content to people? Was there anybody interested in listening to the content that we wanted to bring out there? And obviously, after 10 years, I think it's safe to say that there were people that were interested. There were people out there that went better as football coaches. There were people out there that enjoyed a platform where it was kind of no nonsense and pretty much 100% ball all the time. A platform where I stuck to the niche that I created. When I created it, I knew for a fact at that time nobody was doing, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but the people I was looking at weren't doing whiteboard videos. They were doing PDFs, playbooks. They were doing college research. They were doing NFL research. They were constantly talking and drawing about what Nick Saban does and what all the big timers do. And when I set out to do it, one of the things that I was adamant about was this is how I'm going to do it. And 470 videos later, somehow, some way, we're still pushing out content. It's getting harder every year. Luckily, the game changes every once in a while, and there's new theories and ideas out there that keep the game kind of evolving, which is great because, one of the hardest things when people ask me all the time, hey, I'd like to start a YouTube channel. Hey, I'm interested in doing what you're doing. The toughest thing about it is content creation, right? I never considered myself a content creator. I never really thought of myself as somebody that was creating content. I just thought of myself as a coach who was trying to, give back whatever it was that I knew to people that were in the game that I loved. And the only game, that, or at least the only job, I shouldn't say the only game because I played everything growing up and I still play golf to this day. I'm trying to qualify for the U.S. Senior Open in June. I just turned 50. So, the only game that basically gave me the career that I have now, the only job that I've ever had. I've never had another job other than being a teacher, a graduate assistant, teaching, assistant coach, a head coach, a defense coordinator. That's all I've ever been. So, the idea of content creator was a little bit weird. I just thought I was going to spin some ideas on a board and see if anybody wanted to conversate about them, see if anybody wanted to talk about them, see if anybody wanted to, you know, give their feedback and their input on it. And I wanted to test my own validity as a teacher. And, again, 10 years later, we're still growing every day. In the last 2 months or so, now that I've before the AFCA, I kind of got into analytics and understanding. Good afternoon, sir. I got into understanding analytics, and I never really paid attention to my YouTube stuff much. I knew how many subscribers I have. I thought that was the big number. Yeah, Raj, that's a great point. But the fact that YouTube is a free platform, that's kind of a tough, and I'll get into the different avenues that we chose not to go, and how I branched off and started doing some Patreon stuff, and how I'm now in the middle of I did a CoachTube video. They've reached out with a new platform they have coming out to enhance what they do on CoachTube, and I'm kind of torn on whether I want to do that or not. But the film breakdown stuff is a great idea. It is 100% definitely infinite. Doing drill work and videotaping drill work, I think, could be infinite. There's a lot of different directions I'd like to go, but I'm not so sure in thinking about the future of PlayFast if the YouTube avenue is the way to do that. The way I vision things, once PlayFast kind of became cemented as a valid idea, and a couple of years ago I created an LLC. And really the only thing I've done with the LLC so far was I hosted my own PlayFast clinic. That's really the only thing that I've truly done with the LLC. But in thinking about what the future of PlayFast is, there's got to be other avenues to go down that are all PlayFast avenues, but they're different than just YouTube. The one thing I never wanted to do was ever leave the YouTube audience, because that's what got me to where I was. That's what got people to recognize PlayFast football. That's what got people at clinics to say, "Hey, are you Coach Mack?" It wasn't because of my resume. I was never a state champion. Final 8 is the furthest I've ever been. I've said this on multiple videos. I have more losses as a head coach than I do wins. Anybody with a brain in this profession understands that what we do is more about X's and Jims and Joes, than it is about X's and O's. I'm just trying to help people maybe wrap their head around some things that they might be struggling with, and maybe provide a different avenue, terminology-wise, pedagogy or teaching-wise, or trying to put pieces together on things that people have been chasing for a little while but can't really get a firm answer. When you say the other side of the game, you mean offense, defense, or the other side of the business world, or whatever that might be, Justin? So, yeah, after 10 years now, tonight is a thank you. I want to reflect on everything we've done for 10 years. I also appreciate your input on the matter, Raj, and everybody else that has ideas, because I want to figure out what the next 10 years of PlayFast is going to be. I think in the market right now to start a podcast, trying to get that off the ground, figuring out the best way to record it, edit it. I'm still not technologically savvy. I press record and I upload videos to YouTube. That's the extent of my technology. I know how to run a webcam for YouTube Live. That's about the extent of my technology. So do I have the time to edit things? I'm not sure. Do I have the time to study a new podcast platform, whether it be, or an editing platform, whether it be Audacity or Riverside or, one of those deals? Would it be great for me? Yes. I think it would probably spark my brain a little bit in some different ways that I need motivation in, instead of going down the same path every day. The podcast world was always interesting to me. I think I have an audience. I think I have people who are very loyal to what we do with PlayFast. So I knew that if I started the podcast, it wouldn't be from scratch. So just trying to combine all the different ideas that I have. Obviously, the clinic was a big one for me. And the reason that was a big one was because everything that PlayFast started as, and everything Oh, good, Justin. Good. I hope you pursue it. I hope you get a job. It's a great profession. It's the only thing I've ever done. Um, and if other people get into coaching because of me coaching them or me doing videos or whatever, then that's just again just another very humbling way of me saying thank you for what you do and thank you for following. And I just had a guy call me and ask me some interview advice today. A guy that I did a podcast with a couple years ago and still had my number, and he's interviewing for a head job and was calling me asking for advice. So anytime you can do that in a profession and give back to people, that's what it's all about. The clinic was the huge one for me because I was always about coaches. That's from day one. That was what it was always about. I was trying to give back to coaches in a way that I felt I could give back and in a way that I thought was missing from everything else that was out there. Uh, there's a lot of great content creators out there. There's a lot of great guys that are doing phenomenal things with all 22 film and NFL stuff and college stuff. And obviously when you excuse me, obviously when you think about expanding, um, that's one of the first things you have to think about because the market that we are in the PlayFast world is kind of limited to where the people that are subscribing or watching the videos have to be either football coaches, they want to be football coaches, or they're kind of deranged individuals that love the X's and O's side of football because that's all we talk about. The the other avenues that people have branched out to and have had a lot of success with is analyzing college and NFL stuff because now what you do is you open yourself up to the fan. You open yourself to the everyday follower of the Jaguars, the Gators, the Seminoles, and you start putting clips of them up there and you start talking about, hey, here's what they ran the other night in the SEC championship game. Here's what we call, whatever. And you give your version of what you do with their scheme and you kind of break that scheme down. Now you've branched out and, again, in a business model, trying to open up your reach to other avenues and bigger markets. That's what you need to do. But for the longest time, or at least for 10 years that I've been doing this, I've always been very conflicted in doing that because that's not the path I set out to go down. Now, with that being said, PlayFast is an LLC. It is a business. I did run a clinic. I do have a Patreon site where I do playbook stuff and just play stuff. And I do show video clips on my Patreon site, which is a subscription site. It has 24 subscribers on it. So it's by no means huge. It's by no means big, but it's another avenue for me to present material to people that I don't present on YouTube. And I don't even really market the Patreon stuff all that much because it's still a weird scene or a strange vibe for me to ask people to subscribe to something, right? Because it's a free platform and I made my name in the market on a free platform. So when you're a football player, a football coach your whole life, and that's all you've ever known, the loyalty aspect and the family aspect is really big for me. And I never really wanted to branch out. I always wanted to find other ways that we could make PlayFast bigger. Obviously, holding an LLC or being a corporation, obviously it is a business venture now, but I wanted to use the YouTube side to create a buzz and interest in PlayFast football, but I never wanted to use the YouTube side to create the actual business revenue. You get your Google advertising, you get your click per, your monetization, however you want to look at it. You get all that stuff. And as your channel gets bigger and you get more views and a bigger audience, you make a little bit of money. You're never going to I don't think we'll ever break the bank in this market. The guys in the golf world are breaking the bank because they end up with 2 and 3 million followers. And they're guys that aren't even, they're maybe teaching pros. Maybe they have a PGA license, but 99% of the guys in the country with a PGA license, I could beat if I teed it up tomorrow. So they've got a great avenue. They've got a great audience. They've got a huge market, and they've done a tremendous job with that. And I watch a lot of those channels just to see, if there's a segue between the two, if there's a way, because you're always looking to generate more interest. You're always looking to grow your audience. But getting back to the other point, the clinic was always number one. That was the number one deal. We got it off the ground. We got it rolling. I thought it was a great deal. 145 coaches, 13 different states, beautiful venue. And then COVID happened. And when COVID happened, I didn't want to do virtual stuff because everybody else was doing virtual stuff. And that's not what I wanted to do. Um, Obviously, you improvise, you adjust. I was still doing YouTube stuff during COVID, so I never lost that. Um, I did some Zoom stuff with people. What's up, King? I did some Zoom stuff with people, and I did a couple conferences with people overseas. I did one in Germany. I did one in Brazil, and I did one in Panama. And that was great during COVID. There was no other way to get out in the world. But with everybody else going the virtual route, I wanted to stay away from that route because, again, when I got in, I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. At some point, as a business person, the YouTube side is never going away. It's never going to stop. As long as I am healthy enough and I have content to put out, YouTube will never go away. That's who we are. But when you look at the business side of it and how you're trying to progress from the business side of it, and now with a high school daughter that's going to start driving soon and a daughter in seventh grade, when you go through all the economical things that you can't make anymore. I think Scondell, you just brought up a great point. That's not where the money is. Teaching pays bills. Teaching has retirement. Teaching has insurance benefits. And teaching has a lot of great avenues as an employee, but it doesn't have money. And there's no way to make more money in the teaching business. You're not, they keep trying to find incentives to incentivize results or whatever, but teaching is not much different than football. You got good students, you get good results. You got students that don't care or families that don't care, or maybe they're in socioeconomic neighborhoods that don't provide the same, support as other places. It's going to be hard to get good results in those places. So even the teaching avenue is hard to incentivize. But that's not where the money is, right? So, again, it was the clinic avenue first. That was the first avenue. We got it off the ground. We got it rolling. Going to get it off the ground. It's just a matter of when. I don't want to do it at some standard venue after the last one we did right on the ocean was a big selling point of why we did it. I still have my doubts about what goes on at other clinics. The actual information you're getting at those clinics, who you're getting it from, is it relevant to what we do? Yes, I go to other clinics. I'm not going to lie. I've been going to Glazers my whole life. I've gone to Nike's for a long time, going to one in 2 weeks. But when I go to those as a customer, I see that there are some flaws in some of the things that they do that I think we could change. I think we can provide a better experience. So the clinic route was always going to be the way we wanted to go. Is the camp route locally the way to go? Maybe. Is the camp route and then travel to places where you have a following the way to go? Maybe. Is a site where you create more schematic videos with film clips and some of the things that are going on other platforms, is that the way to go? Maybe. But that's one of the reasons I wanted to jump on YouTube Live tonight is obviously it's been a great run for 10 years and we're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. YouTube's not going anywhere, but, just kind of seeing what the next 10 years is, what people want. Obviously I think I have an idea what people want on YouTube. It's just a matter of figuring out, is that the right platform to do that on? And is there another way to do some of those things? So, when you look at some of the other platforms that people are throwing out there and, membership platforms and consulting platforms where you could create a group and if they want to run Type 3 High, you're a consultant for that group. And there's a membership fee and all that. And, do I have the time for that? I don't know. Is there a market for that? Obviously, because it's being done. I've thought about the interview world. I've thought about, I've watched other people grow their channels tremendously just by somehow getting people on their channel. It didn't change their knowledge of the game of football. It didn't change how they presented X's and O's to anybody, but they had a video that had a name on it and people clicked on it. They watched it. They watched the interview. They liked the interview and then they subscribed to the channel. The grassroots of the channel itself doesn't really change. The information doesn't really change. You've just got bigger names on there that you draw attention to. Like the one thing I can tell you, and I've done this a little bit. I try not to do it. Let me see if I get back to some of these comments. I'm so sorry. Yeah, how much install is too much install is going to be a conversation that everybody has. We have it every day with the people that I talk to. We have it currently. I have it on 4 different thread messages on my phone. Install how much? How much do you need? Because right now ideas are all good, theories are all great, everything looks great. So Carson, if you're just starting coaching or if you've been a coach for a long time, that argument is never going away. How much can we do? How versatile can we be? How multiple but simple can we be? Everybody goes through that. I go through it every year. Every coach I know goes through it every year. So that one isn't going away. You'll be battling that the rest of your life. Coach V, I'm glad you're at the clinic. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the guests were phenomenal. I thought the fact that the speakers were hanging out at the social afterwards and very open. They weren't tugging a suitcase to get on a plane as soon as the clinic ended. They didn't give you an email address to a quality control person or a graduate assistant. And then if you want the information, email them and we'll get it out to you. I get why those guys have to do that. I get that their schedules are busy. I get that they're leaving one clinic or business realm and going to another one, or they're going on the road to recruit. I get all that. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I felt like we could provide a clinic where the speakers were you and the rest of us and me, and they were average high school guys. They were good high school coaches. They presented information that was pertinent and relevant to what we do. And then they were there for the whole clinic. They were at a social afterwards, drinking a beer or drinking a drink with somebody. And when people came up and said, "Hey, I love the presentation. We're a wing T team. Thank you so much. How do you run trap? How do you do this?" They were willing to talk to people. To me, that's part of the clinic experience. The fact that, excuse me, the fact we provided a lunch the next day. Yeah, the big ones, the AFCA does a dinner for the championship game and beers and everything else. But, they're also $75 admission, $75 dues and all that other things. 2 a.m. in Germany, huh? Glad you could be here from Germany. I know I did a Zoom in Germany, and I'm so thankful for the people abroad, Germany, Portugal, Brazil, Panama, everybody that's out there. When I look at the analytics of the channel, so glad that the international game is picking up, or our game is picking up in the international world. So thank you, Smeta, for joining. It's 2 a.m. You probably could be sleeping or doing better things. So again, you're either a football junkie or a deranged individual. But because of you and everybody else that's on this chat, that is why we're here. That is why we have the following we have. That is why PlayFast isn't going anywhere. So I appreciate that. Hey, twin from Detroit, I just want to say thank you. I was the first time OC for high school 4 years ago, and you helped me tremendously. Thank you. I just had a friend of mine visit from the Michigan area. He was at De La Salle for a little bit. He's now at another school. My best friend was a Detroit Lion for 7 years, from 95 to 2001 or 2, right after Chris Spielman. He was a middle linebacker. So I've gone to 2 Detroit Lion games. I love Detroit. I think it's a great city. I did not know. My buddy had to tell me because of what he does for a living, without giving away who he is. I didn't know that Detroit was I should have put 2 and 2 together because of the motor industry, but I didn't realize that a lot of our armored vehicles through the government are produced and manufactured in Detroit. Probably common sense to most people. I'm probably not that bright. But once I had a conversation with my buddy last night, and he told me what he's doing nowadays, and I know what he did previously. That was very interesting to me. And he basically told me if anything goes down in Michigan, all they need is ammunition and they'll be just fine, because there's more armored vehicles in Michigan maybe than there are in a lot of parts of our country. And that was surprising to me once I thought about it, and I asked him why, and he gave me the answer. I figured it out pretty quick, but he's a great guy. Michigan's a great area. Been to Battle Creek before when I was younger. So thank you for being here. I'm glad I helped you. Hopefully you're growing as an offense coordinator. Maybe you're a head coach now, but thank you so much. Coach Grays, how are you? I met Coach Grays at one point for dinner. Another thing that I love doing when people are in town and they hit me up, I always try. And if somebody ever says to me, "Hey, Coach, I'm PlayFast subscriber, been following your stuff. I'm going to be in Jacksonville. Can we get together?" If I can make it happen, I always make it happen. Simply because that's what we are. We're a brand that was built on people. We're a brand that was built on coaches following. So just met one for dinner last night in Flagler Palm Coast. Met Coach wide receiver coach, Coach Gray's, 2 or 3 years ago, in the town that I live in for dinner. So I'm always up to do that. Anybody that's in the Jacksonville area, if I can swing it. I've had people when I was head coach at other schools. I had people stop by our office and sit down and talk football. I consulted with a staff one time that wanted to make some changes to 4-2-5 or whatever, split field coverage, whatever we were doing at the time. So, to me, that's what it's all about. That's why we're here. That's the PlayFast world. Um, let's go back, Raj. I'm sure whatever we're doing. Yeah. I'm only a year in, Raj, so I don't really, I should know the bell schedule by now. The one you're talking about was a planning day. It was a professional day, and they were making an announcement, and I didn't even think about it, but they were making an announcement after lunch about all the professional development that was going on. And because I don't edit my videos and because I didn't want to stop and start again, I just kind of got stuck in the middle and I waited for it to end. And then I made one or two comments while it was going on. And I think I repeated to the audience out there that was listening, hey, if you need planning in Canvas, or if you need to understand the grade book, 1 o'clock, there's going to be stuff going on. And spur of the moment, didn't know it was going on, but didn't want to stop, and I didn't want to redo the video, and I didn't want to edit it. So, bells, loudspeakers, people walking by the door that I have to turn my head and look at all the time, people trying to come in the door while I'm doing videos. That's just, that's part of the deal. My YouTube studio is not my house. I've never been creative enough or financially sound enough to build a studio in my house. Everything I've ever done has been at various high schools that I've been at, with whiteboards in an office. Very Neanderthalish, probably caveman-like, but that's what I do. It's what I know, and should probably invest in creating a studio, like most people do. Creating a green screen or something else would probably help my business partners out, advertising for them in a better manner. But what I do is what I do. It's what I know how to do, and it works pretty well. So again, 10 years, still going strong. Subscribers are up every day. This last month, watch time and views were up 80% from where they were. But that's also because during the season, I don't do a lot of videos and people get used to content coming out. And then when it doesn't come out, sometimes if they don't have notifications on, they don't check back because you're not putting content out. So, that's the other thing that I probably missed the mark on. A lot of people only put content out a certain amount a week, and then they let you know when it's coming out, and that kind of primes people to get ready. If I have one I want to do, I do it. If it's my planning mod, it's 6:45 a.m. If I have an idea, I like it, something's in my head that I saw or that I looked at, somebody asked me a question about how we do something, I get up the next day and I do it. It might be 3 videos in a row. It might be one that I might not do a video for 3 or 4 days. It's just on the content creation side, it's just a matter of what's in my head. What does somebody else bring to my attention? I'm always looking for other people to bring things to my attention. If I can talk about them, I will. Because again, the content creation side is in our world. How much football can you actually talk about? I think the great thing about our channel is I'm experienced enough to talk offense, defense, special teams, practice plans, decent enough at weight training and strength building. I've had 2 state champions in weightlifting. We've had some decent results in weightlifting. I think we're going to be solid this year as a team at a school that hasn't been great in weightlifting before. So I'm adequate in that area. I'm not the guy by any means. There's way better people than me, but I'm smart enough to figure it out. So the fact that we can talk about all those different things, I think is what keeps the content flowing, because, the last year or so, it's been defensive heavy because I'm a defensive coordinator now. I'm not running anything on offense. I'm not keeping track of what's new in the world that's out there. I'm on the defensive side of the ball. I'm a defensive coordinator. So I try to do offensive videos when I can. I try to wrap my head around what's new in the world, what's out there, what's the buzz term I use all the time is hotness. What's the hotness? What's everybody doing at the college level, at the NFL level? But I'm not invested in that as much as I was as a head coach, because I was either calling both sides of the ball or I was directly involved. Now as a DC, my head coach calls the plays. When they're on offense, they're on their headset, and I'm either with my guys or I'm on the other side figuring out what I need to do to fix things or get things done. I'm trying to feel the game out from an offensive and defensive perspective to figure out, that's the toughest thing when you're just a coordinator on one side and you're not the head coach, trying to feel the ebb and flow of the game and not knowing a lot behind what is going on. When you're on defense, you hear nothing that's going on with the offense, right? As a head coach, I was on every channel. I'm talking to guys about adjustments, and I'm calling defense, but I'm talking to guys on offense about what we need to get fixed. And so I have a little bit, I had a little bit better feel of the game. Now, as a coordinator, all I can do is watch the ebb and flow of the game and try and figure out, all right, I think we're in a good spot here. Um, let's bend, but don't break. Let's not do anything dumb. Hey, I think we're going to need to make some plays here and make some things happen. Let's get a little bit more aggressive in the game plan. Hopefully we have enough carried that week to present some issues for the offense to create plays. So I think I have a pretty good feel for that side of it. I know somebody asked me last week if I could do a video on what we do with our guys in the booth. And they mentioned that they haven't had a lot of success with guys in the booth, and they're not really sure what to ask for and what value they bring if you're on the field as a coordinator. I would much rather be in the booth as a coordinator. Unfortunately, my personality, if you haven't noticed it in the last 10 years, my personality needs to be on the field. And it's probably a better place for the program for me to be on the field most of the time. It definitely is now with me as a defensive coordinator because I'm way more reserved. I'm not in control of what's going on. I can't act different ways. I can't be as emotional as I was as a head coach. I can't get away with some of the behavior I got away with as a head coach because I'm now representing somebody else's program. And it took me a while, a game, 2 games, 3 games to kind of tone it down and understand that I'm not the guy anymore. I'm just a guy on a staff. And I love that role right now. I don't need to be a head coach ever again. If the right job opens, I will interview. I interviewed for one this about a month ago, only because it was 2 blocks from my house. My daughter goes there. My wife teaches there. My wife's the dance coach there. But that's the only place I interviewed for. And if that wasn't open, I wouldn't have interviewed anywhere. I love the place I'm at. I love my job. I love just being a DC. I love being a sounding board for the coach, but not the reason everything fails. I miss right now in the recruiting season. This was a big one for me yesterday. Iowa State came by, and they're very interested in our kid that plays middle safety. As a 3-high team, that one absolutely ripped me to shreds that I couldn't sit with the Iowa State guy because I was in a portable teaching health to freshmen. But my head coach got some good information, and then he came in and shared the information that he got from them. But that's the side of head coaching I miss. I don't get those conversations anymore during recruiting. When you're waiting for a kid to come to your office or a guy's in the office and you can just talk ball and, hey, what are you guys doing? What'd you do? What do you like? What'd you have trouble with? What's everybody doing to you? That side I miss. Do I miss the recruiting world? No. Do I miss being in charge and being to blame for everything since I've been fired twice in the last 8 years? No. Do I miss being the fall guy when things don't go the way they're supposed to? No. Do I miss not getting the results that you want to get because maybe based on your schedule, the roster you have? No. In the NFL right now, we're in Jacksonville. We talk about the Jags, and they went from worst to first, and they had the first pick 2 years in a row. And there's a lot of things that went into it. It's an NFL roster, generational quarterback. Yes, they found the right head coach, and he is absolutely phenomenal. One of the best play callers I've watched in the NFL for the limited amount of NFL that I watch. So yeah, the franchise is in a great place right now, but they're out making moves. They're getting free agents. They got almost every pass that was caught this year was caught by somebody they brought in. How do you do that in high school when your roster is what it is and everybody that's catching a pass is the same kids that didn't catch passes the year before? So I don't miss that part of it. I still have to produce results on defense. I'm still the fall guy on defense. I wouldn't want it any other way. But the spot I'm in, being a coordinator now. Now, the interesting thing is, since we're talking about PlayFast, the future, what's going to go on, I thought being a coordinator and an assistant would open more avenues for me and more time, which it has in some ways. My problem is I just can't get my mind wrapped around the absolute direction I want to go in. I've got ideas. I've got theories. Like most football people, I've got things that I doodle on a napkin or things that I draw on a whiteboard that's really cool. And then tomorrow, I wake up and that's not so cool anymore, or I just don't follow through with my own ideas, or something doesn't work and I go back and get negative and say, obviously that was a bad idea. I'm no different than anybody else. I'm a football coach at heart, like everybody else. And it's not allowed up here, Scondell, but it certainly goes on. And I would, if it was legal, I would 100% go to parks and go everywhere I could. I think I could recruit with anybody in the business. I think I could recruit with anybody in our area. I'm still 50 years old. The fact that I have a YouTube channel, the fact that my social media demographic is bigger than most of the people in the area that are coaching, I could throw those lines out to kids and go, hey, do you want to be promoted? You want to get more people, following you on social media? Do you want your stuff to be seen by more people? I would love to play that game if it was legal. I'm never going to do it until they make it legal. But you know, I don't have a problem with that, Scondell, because it goes on anyways. So if you make it legal, I know it's not what public high school football was supposed to be about. I'm now at a private school. By state rules, we still can't recruit football players. We're not on the street recruiting football players. We actually just turned a football player down that wanted to transfer from one of the better places in the state, and his GPA wasn't what the school wanted, and there's a waiting list in his class. So that's not who we are. It's not what we do. If it was legal, I'd be all in. Sign me up. I can do it with anybody. I'd like to do it with anybody. I think I'd be as good at it as anybody. I think I'm still young enough to relate to kids. I think I still have enough things in my life that I do. I still play some video games. I still listen to the same music I listen to. I would love to. And the fact that they did that, Scondell, is amazing to me. And if that's what people want, then so be it. If people want to decide at that level where to send their kid and who they want to put their future in, and you can sell it to somebody, then by all means, there's, the only reason I'm against it is it's been illegal ever since I started coaching in Florida. School of choice is open now, but you still can't, or you're not supposed to recruit. I'm not against recruiting. I'm against the fact that it's illegal. And I would love to go out and do it. I would love to do it on social media. I still to this day, it's amazing to me. I still get kids from all across the country that follow me on social media and then send me a direct message about their highlight film. And I have to message them back and say, sorry, probably not going to follow you back as a high school player. I am not a college coach. I can't do anything with your film. Just because of what we put out there, the content we put out there, and, the visibility of it, I get followed by kids all the time. And I think they think that I'm in the recruiting world or I'm in the college world until they figure out who it is. And at that point, a lot of the kids are probably just following every name that pops up on a timeline just because they want to be seen, right? That's the way recruiting is. With the transfer portal now, kids are in a bad way coming out of high school. So I get that they want to be seen. I get that they want to be put out there. The one thing about recruiting I can tell you at the college level, the kids I've had that have played Division I never put out there, never had to put out there. They found them. I had to do nothing. It's placing kids in D3, placing kids in JUCOs, placing kids in D2s. That's where the work is. That's where somebody is really doing their job as a recruiter, or somebody that's helping kids be recruited. As a high school coach, though, is that the best avenue for them? Do you want to tell somebody to incur $130,000 in debt if they have a better means to stay local for cheaper money, but they can't play football? It was good to me. Small school football was great to me. It's created a career for me. I got my master's degree from playing small school football. I love it. But where you get torn as a head coach is that the best scene to put a kid in, to tell the parents, hey, this school absolutely loves you. It costs $58,000 a year and you guys don't qualify for any financial aid. Yes, they want you to play. Yes, it's recruiting. Yes, they're interested. Yes, you can, quote unquote, sign. The letter of intent won't be binding because there's no athletic money tied to it, but you can have your day. You can have your social media day. You can have your day at the high school. Those things are all huge. And for the development of a program, they're huge. But I don't know as a head coach if that's really the right thing to do. You're going to make families take on. Now, if they're willing to and they have the money to do it, then go play. I played small school football. Like I said, I loved it. It was local. It was a commuter school. I didn't stay in a dorm. Ended up getting money to play golf. So half scholarship, but none of it came from football. I'm not against that avenue. It's made me everything I am today, but I didn't have to incur a ton of debt on my parents. I don't have student loans. So I don't know if that's the right world either, but let me get back to some of these. Yes, Jason, I remember talking to you a couple times through messages, emails, and some other things, and glad you're still here. The field is definitely a place that's probably better. That's kind of interesting, Tony. The kid's going to have other offers. A lot of people, I think he's bigger than we thought he was going to be. I think we thought he was a 1AA kid, great football player for us, junior. He's got another year, and I am currently chomping at the bit to investigate how to adapt and build our 3 high stuff. Our base defense is tight 3 high. That's who we are. That's what we do. We are not changing. We don't change for 3-man surfaces. We don't shade the front. we're tight three high. That's our base. The protection pieces to that, different three deep rotations, different versions of blitzes using our players advantageously. Those are the things that I want to dive into. And yes, they like him at middle safety, but they also like him to possibly play will. A couple other D1s have looked at him and think he can be a will because of the film that he has and how we play him. You know, our middle safety is a hybrid linebacker. That's what he is. When people ask me about it and they say, oh, well, how do you fit this? How do you do that? He fits off number 3 90% of the time. He's part of the run fit. The ball's usually getting sent to him. You know, we've looked at some ways to play linebackers over the top and play him behind. And Iowa State's doing some of that. I thought it was a thing. I thought it was an idea. I thought it would be cool to change up our fits when people started trying to account for the middle safety. I just wasn't smart enough to figure it out. But I know I was smart enough to do something that's already being done that Iowa State talked with my head coach about. I don't have any of that information. I don't have access to anybody on that staff. I've never been to their campus. I've never heard them speak. I've watched YouTube and I've studied it and I put it with our split field stuff and I think it works. Some of the things they do that I thought they were doing are probably wrong. What I thought I saw on film that I incorporated into my defense is probably not what they're doing, but it worked for us. And it was a difference maker for us. And it caused some issues for other people. And it generated a lot of interest in what we do and how we do it because, you know, we have a few really, really good defensive players, but our kids play both ways. We are very small. You know, our offensive guys are defensive guys. Our biggest offensive lineman was 240. We had kids at 195 playing nose. We had kids at 185, 190 playing four eyes. So the fact that it was so different and so solid schematically that people had a hard time figuring it out. Thank you, Tyler. That is one of my former players. Always great when you see a former player. He's now coaching. Thank you, Tyler. Who would have thought when I got the job to coach you 8 years ago, whatever, or 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it was, I was in year 3 of PlayFast, and maybe PlayFast wasn't as big as it is now. But hope you guys are doing all right at Orange Park. Hope everything's going well in the offseason. Hope wrestling's going good. Glad you could hop on and join us. Defense coordinator, 5A school in Louisiana, and we'll be installing a 3 high safety this spring. Been loving your videos on it. Yeah, if there's anything else you want, just leave me a comment on there if you want something specifically. Questions I get all the time now is how do we handle unbalance? That was big. Team started doing it to us this year. We got away with some things that maybe we won't if they scheme it a little bit better. The one thing we didn't do is we thought about not knocking the front to true unbalance, maybe 4-man sides. Some of the X over 2-back stuff that we got, we didn't knock the front. We bumped linebackers and we tried to change our fits on the back end. And again, if you've watched the videos, one of the things that I've been very adamant about is if I am a tight front team and I realize that all the schools that were tight front teams in college are now playing 5-0-5. They're now playing 5-0-4. There is less tight front out there than there used to be. And I think that's because the ball fell off the pool table too quick at that level. Pin and pull leverage and other things at that level were very difficult for those guys to defend. They didn't like the ball ripping. We wanted the ball falling off the pool table at the school I was at. We had a hard time spilling when we were 5-0-5. We had a hard time spilling when we were 4-2-5. When we did spill, we couldn't make plays. I had a hard time with it at the other schools I had been at. So by spilling the ball by front, by having no big bubbles, by forcing with leverage the ball to go where you knew it was going, the only thing we had to do was figure out our support and make sure we had the right kids in place that when it got there, we could make plays. But we knew where it was going. You know, we tried. We didn't completely deny vertical entry. We had teams that ran the ball for 240 and 250 on us, and some of that was personnel. Some of it was bad job on my part. But for the most part, the thing the tight front does is it makes offensive line coaches and coordinators wrinkle everything they do in their base system. They hate base inside zone. They have to figure out ways to arc and read 4 eyes. They have to figure out ways to add pin pull. They pull tackles in their power schemes or whatever else. They're constantly wrinkling what they do. Whereas if we put 4 hands on the ground, you just roll your game plan out and it's the same as everything else, right? And, you know, Kirby Smart talked about it in one of his clinics where he mentioned that the reason they went from more 4 down versus spread teams to some mint front odd stuff is when they visited with Houston, and Tom Herman and his staff, after those guys at Ohio State beat the crap out of Alabama, um, he talked about how the odd front gives you more depth in the defense. And Kirby Smart said, I don't really know what that means. And he said it means there's more layers to your defense. You have more second level players that can blitz and drop and do things. Um, and he said you can be a little bit more multiple in the presentation and the disguise. And, with four hands on the ground, eventually, if they know where you are, you're probably going to get your ass whipped. With the tight front stuff, they don't like the leverage. They don't like the angles. They're constantly adjusting things. So why should I change the front when you present a three-man surface? You'll just present three-man surfaces and we'll never be a tight front team. So next year that could change. People could give us three-man surfaces unbalanced and we could get smoked. I'll change my tune. I've never been someone that's not willing to say I was wrong. But right now in what we did last year, I am not changing that. The thing I am looking at, third downs, we did a poor job on. So my third down presentations and three deep rotations, multiple rotations, and ways to protect the tight front. So ways to protect at least one of the C gaps, ways to protect both C gaps, and presenting a different picture. We had some change up this year. Don't get me wrong. A lot of them were theories and ideas that I had in my head. Don't know when I go back and watch our stuff. I don't know exactly how sound they were. Don't know how some of them we probably lucked ourselves into place because it was so different or a little bit different than the tight front stuff. I know we played one team where I had an even front package in, and down near the goal line, we went to our even front package and they ran power and pulled a tackle versus even front because they had been working on pulling a tackle all week versus tight front. We gave them an even front and they still pulled the tackle. So I know the value in it. I know the theory behind what we're trying to do is correct. I just have to find other ways to protect it. So, what about the interview scene on YouTube, trying to get bigger names? I think the channel's big enough now where we should be able to get the bigger names. I don't know if they're willing. Obviously, they've been on other channels, and a lot of those channels aren't demographically, analytically, those channels aren't any bigger than ours. They certainly weren't before those people went on those channels. So it's more of a connection thing. I'm probably bad at reaching out to people and asking them. I still have a hard time saying, hey, Coach Mac from PlayFast, I've got this YouTube thing. It's pretty big. A lot of coaches are into it. Would you like to come on and do a Zoom call and answer some questions? Probably my fault. I haven't been told no by a ton of people because I haven't asked anybody. So how can you get told no when you don't ask anybody? The way I view it, I think it would be pretty cool. Whether it's a live session like this and I'm interviewing somebody and you're commenting, whether it's a recorded Zoom call. I wish I could get another thought I had with some of the better coaches in my area. If I could get them to come in and present something that they do on the whiteboard in clinic fashion. Problem is a lot of other coaches don't want to present anything on a whiteboard. Why give it away? And I think what a lot of guys miss out on is the point that you're not giving away the keys to the castle. I've told all of you this many, many times. There are several videos on my channel of things that I do not run. There are several videos on our channel of things that are ideas and theories that we don't run. Half of the things that we're doing videos, I don't even carry all those into a game. I've had people comment and say, hey, the brand is PlayFast. How can you play fast with all this shit you put on the board? I don't run all that. It's content creation. I have to put things out for people. There's been times when I put things out on purpose, knowing that who we played watched it. I used to have a team, very good friends of mine, and every year we played them, and they beat us almost every time. Every year we played them on Sunday when I was at my game plan meetings, they would send me pictures on their whiteboard from their projector of YouTube videos with, let's just say, some graphic drawings on there. And they knew that guys that I'm friends with knew that I could handle it. Guys that know my personality know that I can give and take. You better be able to take, though, because I'm going to give. So every year it was a constant theme. They would pull a YouTube video up and they would put it on a whiteboard on a projector. And then somebody would draw very graphic images depicting things on my picture. And it was great. It was a laugh. It made me want to beat their ass even more. didn't accomplish it very much. But a lot of those guys, I think they think when you do things on YouTube, you're giving everybody the answers. Everybody has 10 of your films. If you think everybody's not exchanging your films on Huddle, even though there's only 2 game exchanges, the state of Florida is like the black market of film exchange. Everybody is calling everybody. There's people who fired you a year ago that call and ask you for film. There's people who cussed you out 2 years ago that call and ask for film. When it comes down to trying to prepare for a game, coaches are ruthless. They're relentless, and they will do. Thank you, Paul. They will do anything they can to get film. It's crazy how wild. And with my friends, I joke about it. It's the black market of film. That's what it is. You know, Jason, here's the funny thing. I don't even think if it's friends of friends. I had people that ran scores up on me contact me about film. Hey, coach, would you mind giving us film? Yeah, don't you remember last year when you put the starters back in when you were up 48 points? I want to give you film. How do you even make that phone call, or how do you send that text out? Hey, coach, we've got Jason's team coming up this week. You have any film on them? Could you help us out? Why would I help you? You put the starters back in last year. You scored 48 points. It was 35-0. I scored a touchdown, and the very next play, you threw a vertical shot for 80 yards. Is there no – I know I'm in this game to help people, and I know I gave you a 20-minute rant on why I do PlayFast, but is there no is anybody not vindictive enough to hold a grudge to go, fuck no, I'm not giving you video. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. No, I'm not giving you video now. Some of the guys that came back and apologized and came back and said, hey, man, I was wrong. Sorry about that. Now, at that time, there were also people that didn't know me, and they thought I was arrogant, pompous, asshole. And then get to know me from playing, get to know me from talking about film exchange, and, get to know me from a pregame talk and kind of figure out that I'm nothing like anybody thought I was. And then you end up becoming friends with people. So it's full circle. It goes round and round. But I think a lot of people don't want to come on the channel and do videos. And I'm talking about good football coaches now. They don't want to put something out there that they think, I'm going to show that, Tony. I'm okay with that. Thank you, Kuroga. They think that when you put something out, and it's the same thing. Like I was at the AFCA 2 weeks ago. Every presentation I sat in on was about culture, philosophy, pedagogy, team building. I guess at the biggest convention, in the country for coaches, nobody wants to put a scheme on the board. There were a couple guys that put bubble screen on it. Hey, we throw nows. Okay, great. We throw bubbles to a dude. Thank you. Nobody really talks scheme because I guess they feel like if they do that, who's in the room, right? Well, whoever's in the room, just don't use your terminology. Don't use what you call things. Don't talk about your game plan. Throw some Blue Falcons out there that are code words for something that you don't do, but football is about the exchanging of information. It's about guys trying to get better. Every guy that has that job at some point either had our job or was a GA getting sandwiches for people, and now they've made it. So, there should be an exchange of information. You should be willing to exchange. And then you just got to be smart enough to understand where to draw the line to say, all right, this is not what we call it. This is what we do. It's not what we call it. Maybe you don't give them everything you do, but you give them enough. So that was always shocking to me that guys wouldn't want to come on and do videos because they're afraid that what they do might get out, right? So I thought about doing local guys. I thought about doing more videos with our business partners. I thought about reaching out to other people in the YouTube world and doing collaborations and doing things like that. It's just, again, it's where do we want to go? What do we want to do? What do the 19 of you that have been on here on a live chat at 8:00 on a Wednesday, as loyal and deranged as you are, 2 a.m. in Germany. Thank you very much. Kuroga, I think from Brazil or Portugal. Thank you very much. It's all about what you guys want as well, as much as it is me following a business model, pursuing a business model. Again, interviews, podcasts, maybe some camps. I thought the first clinic was so good, I thought about traveling and doing PlayFast clinics around the country. Obviously, I didn't have the economic support. I didn't have feet on the ground. When Glazier and Nike do that, they have people that run their clinics, right? I thought about traveling and doing clinics a couple a year, Yes, there is a heel side, very, very much so, Tony. And I guess kayfabe, I'm pretty good at what I do because a lot of people think that heel side is legit. Um, a lot of people think that that's actually who I am until they get to know me. So I guess I've been watching wrestling long enough. I know there's some people on here that probably hate when I talk wrestling, but it's who I am. It's a hobby of mine. So the kayfabe world, the storytelling world, maybe I do too good of a job with how I present myself. I think I'm way better as a defensive coordinator because I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. I don't have to worry about those interactions. I can say hello to everybody. Hey, how's it going? And, I mean, as a head coach, you got to be a little bit more guarded in what you're doing, and you got to be careful with who you're having conversations with. And there's guys you don't want to have conversations with because of previous conversations. Um, you know, yeah, breaking the fourth wall. You know, hidden door. Whatever, or however you want to look at it. I think those guys. I think a lot of those businesses and a lot of them are all intertwined. I think they're all doing business together. I know people probably say I'm crazy for that, but and from that landscape, here's the way like I look at it on a very, very small, minute spectrum. All the other big names were the WWE and PlayFast became AEW. PlayFast became a place for people that wanted something different. They wanted something else. Um, I love a lot of the wrestlers in AEW. I don't like the product. I'm not a fan of it. I don't really watch it anymore. Everybody knows I'm the biggest Sting fan in the world. Um, but Good question, Tyler. I don't know. Did I see Cody entered? I think, or a huge fan of Cody Rhodes back into WWE because he went out and proved his worth to the WWE, which wouldn't give him his worth when he was there. He went out and proved his worth, and then he took the big paycheck to come back. So that is so to me from a small business, somebody that's trying to prove their worth every day in the business world with PlayFast. That was huge to me that he went out on his own and he created it, and then he came back to the monster and said, "Hey, this is what you're going to pay me. I am worth that." And he found out that that other world wasn't really as good as he thought it was, right? I mean, as much as those people bitch about the WWE and creative control and promos and all that shit, the hell is Rusev doing in AEW? How big is Christian in AEW? I mean, come on. I know Adam Cole got hurt, but is he any bigger than the Undisputed Era was in WWE? No. So that's to me, kind of a small version of what we are, right? I want to take on the bigger people. I want to take on some of those people that said you shouldn't do it that way. I want to go a different direction with my followers and my people and take it to a place where, now I don't want to make dumb decisions. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sit here and say, I'm just going to do play fast YouTube for the next 10 years, which obviously if I'm healthy enough, I'm going to. If I have anything relevant to say, I'm going to. But to sit here and think that I'm only going to do those things that I did the first 10 years would be stupid for anybody. I mean, we got to set goals, right? I talked to my health class today about setting goals, and we got to set goals. We got to reach. We got to be self-confident. We got to be willing. My biggest problem is I don't ask enough. That's in the business world. That's 100%. I don't reach out. I don't ask. It's not something I'm good at. I don't feel I'm not afraid of no. That's not the thing. I still, as good as we do and as valuable as the product is, as much as I've been able to generate for, you look at a company like GameStrat, 5 or 6 years ago when I started working with GameStrat, they were calling me in my office at the school I was at, trying to get me to try their product. They couldn't get into Glacier. They couldn't get into Nike. They had a hard time getting into AFCA. They were standing in hotel lobbies. Now, those guys hustle. Great fellas. Love them to death. They were standing in hotel lobbies trying to get people to try their product, right? They were cold calling. They were door to door. If you look at where they're at now in the market, yeah, I think we have a tremendous amount to do with that. I think pitching to a demographic that is exactly what they want. I think, knowing that everybody that's on here is some type of football coach, or maybe it's not the purse string puller. Maybe you're just an assistant like me and you don't have the purse strings, but my demographic's 99% male. That's probably changing a little bit now because I saw more female coaches at the AFCA, which I think is cool. If that's a vibe and it's out there and they can coach, so be it. I hope they don't get jobs over other people because they're female. Hopefully they get jobs because they deserve them. But I'm not against it. It doesn't bother me. So maybe the demographic changes, but my demographic is 99% male. My demographic is probably 95% coaches. My demographic is all over the country. So if you want to reach multiple people, YouTube advertising is waterfront property. As soon as I start advertising with a company, every time I do it, some of you guys have probably left me comments. All right, coach, the video starts at 3:30. I had to scrub through the first part. I get it. That's what makes YouTube great. Don't watch the advertisements or whatever. Yes, I talk about game strat and I go through almost the same pitch every time. I get it. Yes, I have idiosyncrasies with my hands. I get it. I'm human like everybody else. But that's part of the world, right? I need people to support the channel. I need businesses to support me so I can continue to do what I love doing. And I feel like I provide value to them. But I'm still not at a place in my life where I want to go up to the big timers and say, hey, look, and I did learn from my business partner, Jeff Whitaker at Dome, that a convention is probably not the right place to do it. But I was ready to go up to some of those people and say, hey, you just paid $8,000 for a booth to talk to very limited. Yes, Tony, it's a New York thing. It's probably a nervous thing too. You spend $8,000 for a booth. You're here with your competition. You have no idea who you're going to talk to. Most of the guys at a convention don't. If they stop to talk to you, it's because they want to. They don't want to be pulled into a booth for a sales pitch. But those companies also don't want to hear that you think they wasted $8,000. Learn that the hard way through my business partner and good friend and my mentor in the business world, Jeff Whitaker at Dome. Shameless plug for Dome. This is a Dome hat. I got to change the colors. This is new PlayFast colors. This is, sorry, Tyler, but that's old PlayFast colors. But people don't want to hear that they just made an investment that you think is a waste of time or that you can do better than. So I'm learning, like everybody else. I'm learning how to pitch. Trying to land the airplane with some companies. I've got a Zoom call with Atavis Friday morning. I think I can 100% help them. We use their product. We use some of their drills. I think there can definitely be a partnership there. Talk to some other people about partnerships because I think when I advertise on YouTube, every time I do a video, it's on there. It's in the description box. It's on my whiteboard. I talk about it. If somebody gets on and if somebody goes to a video 5 years ago to watch 425 or Power Read, and I was advertising for a company, that person sees that. Where else can you go back? If you put a commercial in the Super Bowl 5 years ago, where else can somebody see that commercial today? If you put an ad on the radio and somebody's not in their car to hear that radio ad, or they only listen to Spotify now, you've got to now advertise on Spotify, right? It's the same thing. I'm still not, although I'm self-confident, although I feel like I do what I do, to steal a line from Chris Jericho, I'm not the best in the world, but I think I do what I do as good as a lot of people out there. So it's not a confidence thing. I'm just not good at it. I'm not good at pitching. I don't even have I don't have a price point. I don't have a sales pitch. I make handshake agreements with guys. I said, hey, for this much a month, I can put you on Twitter. I can put you on YouTube. You give me the sales pitch. Like, it's that barbaric and simplistic in nature. So I'm learning. I'm trying. I want to get better at the things that I'm not good at. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what goes on. If EQM and the LSU in the early 2000s, some company named Under Armour was giving us free samples to try out practice. Yeah, I think Under Armour ended up okay. And that's the one thing, Tony, as a New Yorker, I don't have. My friends have it. If my friends weren't police officers growing up, they're in the business world. They do very well. I'm not good at it. I've never been good at it. That's why I chose to coach and not go to Wall Street. I had offers from friends in my town, people I played football with, people that graduated from St. John's University. And I had opportunities to do that. I just didn't want to. I don't think I'm good at it. So maybe I'll learn, Tony. Who knows? It's one of the New York skills I don't have. Greetings from Serbia. That's a first. I hope I don't pronounce it wrong, Danilo. I think that's a first. I've checked my analytics before. I know that there are some clicks, and it might be you in Serbia. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Again, to me, my mind is blown that I'm having a conversation with somebody from Serbia. I think it's the neatest thing in the world. If you don't understand the power of athletics and football and how it can bring people together, I don't know what to tell you. Um, and I'm just glad you're there. I'm glad you follow. I'm glad maybe I helped. Um, maybe I showed you what you don't want to do. Either way, I'm good with all of it. So, first coordinator position started on 2015, both offense and defense. Is going to be my first year as a semi-pro DC. Plan to do what you do with your channel, but for a Northeastern European Balkan mark. My head coach just asked me if I have any Baltic states. I'm glad you brought that up. I may screenshot this and send it to him, which I'm actually going to. Sorry. Sorry. Please forgive me. This conversation just happened. My head coach likes to give me a hard time. Yes, I screenshotted that or took a picture with my phone. Yes, I'm sending it right now. Sorry, I don't want to take away from you guys, but my head coach actually asked me today, maybe there's some people in the Baltic states that are interested. You know, little jab. We have a great relationship. Maybe not so great tonight, but he loves throwing it out there. Brazil, there's another one. Screenshot it. Get to my camera. Thank you so much. No, he's a very smart guy. He's way smarter than me, but I think I knew Latvia was a Baltic state. I'm not sure if I knew Serbia was. Danilo, I apologize. Is that where in the world is Pedro? Am I right? I actually sent my coach some messages in Spanish today. Uh, if I could see you on camera, um, Tony, I'm sure you would give me hand gestures from Staten Island, Staten, Italy. Yes. But thank you so much to all you guys that are overseas. First of all, thank you again. Thank you for what you do for me. Thank you for following. Thank you for letting me help you if I did help you. Thank you for being on here tonight and let me screenshot where you're from. And oh, thank you, Karoga. I didn't know that. I know a little bit of. I shouldn't say this because I don't know. I think you guys speak Portuguese in Brazil. I think maybe. I hope I'm not wrong. Um, but I actually did. I think I don't know if you guys were there, but I did a Zoom call with people in Brazil. It was awesome, and I had a great time. They actually asked me if I would ever think about traveling to Brazil to do such, and it's a time thing for me. It's a money thing for me. Like I said, two daughters. Me and my wife were both high school teachers. If PlayFast was a bigger business, I would fly to Brazil and do a clinic. I would fly to Germany. I'm scared to fly, but I would. But greetings from Connecticut. Nice, right across the Long Island Sound. Played a couple games. Played Sacred Heart when I was there. Good friend of mine played at UConn. So Big East, St. John's Big East basketball school. So hate Jim Calhoun for everything that he's worth. Love Gino and what he's done for women's basketball. But yeah, all that stuff. Northeast, overseas. It's amazing to me because I think it's a semi joke to some people that people know play fast football or Coach Mack in Portugal or Brazil or Germany, Serbia, wherever it is. But these live chats and the internet is an amazing thing, and it proves it. So now I took pictures, and I can certainly prove it. So thank you so much for being here. We've been on for an hour and 8 minutes. Let's for a little bit while I'm here. I said my thank yous. I bitched to you about everything I wanted to bitch to you about. What's out there in the football world? What are we doing? What are we working on? What's new? What are we playing on both sides? Are there any questions you have out there or anything? I mean, I always claim that this is 100% ball. And for an hour, I ranted about my life and bitched about play fast football and what it is and what it isn't. So if there's anybody left that wants to talk ball, let's have at it. Let's let it rip. I'm still a ball guy at heart. Still love talking it, coaching it, teaching it, learning it. A lot of people don't think I try to learn it, but I do. I just don't want to learn what everybody else is not doing. I want to learn what they're doing, but I don't want to be cookie cutter and do what Clemson does verbatim. I don't want a PDF from Clemson. I don't want a playbook from Clemson. I've never wanted a playbook from anybody. I want to be as good as they are. Don't get me wrong. I want to be as good as Alabama is. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just not into that scene. It's not a vibe that I'm into that I dig to say, hey, check out Saban running Mars Venus. That's not my deal. I know it's a deal for some people, and they do a great job. Some of the people that are doing that do a great job. I've talked to in the past. I've collaborated with some of them. It's not PlayFast. It's not Coach Mack, and it's probably shouldn't say never. Like wrestling, you never say never, but that's their world. They're good at it. They're great with film. They're great with overlays. They're great with presentations. I'm not. I'm good with a marker. I'm good on a whiteboard. I'm good with an eraser. I know how to press record. 3-4 currently. Why do you want to go 4-2-5? See, now we're getting. Let's go. Now we're all ball. I would say why 2. We went 4-2-5 back in the TCU days. Now that TCU is good again, they're 3 high, which is interesting. Gary Patterson days, we went 4-2-5. I love the simplicity of it. I love the multiplicity of it. Not a big fan of 4 down. I think everybody wants to block 4 down. I think 90% of high school teams would be better suited with their roster in odd fronts. I think odd fronts are tougher to coach, if I'm going to be honest. I don't mean this in a bad way because I ran it, Paul. And it would be complete blasphemy to say I think 4-2-5 is plug and play. If you ask me, yes, there's movements and exotics and pressures but I think if I had to do it, if I had to put in something that I had to rely on, that I knew I could get taught in a very quick manner, and I knew my coaches could learn in a very quick manner, it would be 4-2-5 split field coverage, 100%. I just think it is a little bit too plug and play for me. As an offensive guy, one of the comments people say on PlayFast all the time, every play you draw is to an even front. So I started trying to draw plays to tight and odd, and there's adjustments, there's wrinkles, and it's a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. It's a pain in the ass. So that's why we're an odd group. So if you can only run 6 plays on offense, what would you run? Yeah, it's like Novocaine. Power, counter, buck, jet, dart, some version of ISO, or duo that I could turn into ISO, or inside zone if I could teach it, that I could turn into ISO. So power, counter, buck, jet, dart, which dart is an isolation play. So that's probably dumb of me to say ISO because dart is an isolation play in theory, and duo or inside zone. Hopefully that helps. Question: when you RPO, how do you decide to block the end or LB overhang? You always lock back on. If I'm now, here's an interesting Karoga. This is very interesting, and this is totally my take on it. 100%. RPOs to me are things that we are throwing off overhangs, access throws that we throw based on leverage or numbers before the snap. To me, are not RPOs. Even if we have a run called, if I read a lineman, it is a triple option theory for me, not an RPO world. I will never run an RPO scheme where I leave a down lineman unblocked. I don't believe in it. I think when it first started, that's what John Gruden was calling ridiculous protection offense because teams were doing it. I don't believe in it. I know it's out there. I've seen it. I've seen NFL teams do it. It's not a thing for me. I'm locking the backside. I'm blocking 5 or 6 in the box, and I'm throwing off overhangs if I'm RPO'd. If I'm reading the down guy, you can almost guarantee it's some type of triple option theory. That's just me. And RPOs for me are throws that we make downfield. Now, I know a lot of people talk about RPOs with bubbles and now screens attached to a run. Yes, that is a run pass option, but for me, in my head, in my world, I classify those as different things simply because those to me are advantage throws, leverage throws, gifts, access throws. They're not part of the RPO world for me. Probably part of the RPO world for 90% of the country, but again, don't really give a shit what 90% of the country calls it. That's them. I know how I classify it. And now I do have to tell people that, like when people ask questions, you do have to reiterate that, okay, I'm telling you what I think an RPO is. I'm telling you what I think. And I'm not telling you what it usually a lot of times what I think is probably contrarian to what other people think, maybe because my brain doesn't function the way theirs does. But RPOs for me are overhangs, second or third level players, inside backers, down guys is triple option theory, bubbles, nows, and those things are access gifts, leverage throws, advantage throws, decide throws, however you want to terminology it. So hopefully that helps. Homeschool with a friend of mine. I want to run the football out of the spread for the numbers advantage, but he thinks the formation is soft. I don't think formations make you soft. I think how you block schemes make you soft. I think how you teach schemes make you soft. I think most of the teams that are spread or 11 personnel spread, I don't even know what spread is anymore. I don't even know. I know what people mean when they say spread, but I don't know what it means really. If you're an 11 personnel team with a tight end that can play as a fullback or can release down the field and create 3-by-1 and 2-by-2 formations and 4 verticals, but he can also kick and wrap and do those things. I don't think that's very soft. Some of the best teams we play do it, and they do it real well, and it's anything but soft. College and NFL world does, like inside zone to me is a hard-nosed downhill physical run. But yet when I try and run it in high school, it's the softest thing, and that's probably because I can't teach it. It's probably because I had rosters where inside zone wasn't a good play, and that's my fault. That's why we went to duo more, because I felt like it tied into gaps and I could get guys off the ball and be physical. Again, my philosophy. But you know, I don't think spread is soft. I think people run the ball for tons of yards out of the spread, whether it's numbers, grass, or just beating people's asses. It guys in space is a problem, and figuring out how to cover guys in space and then fit runs with RPOs is a damn problem. So I think it's a great world. I think when you watch the North Dakota States of the world and some of those teams that are still 21 personnel getting after it, I think that's a great world too. But if my answer to you, Scondo, I don't think the formation is soft. That's just me. What are the run pass keys for your middle safety and your 3 high? Depends on formation, Brian. If we're playing somebody that's 3-by-1, it depends on what our 3-by-1 adjustment is. He's down sometimes. He's 3 vertical sometimes. The interesting thing for us this year, the 3-by-1, we played 0 snaps where we borrowed the backside safety, 0 poach, whatever you want to call it, stress, solo, Gilligan, triangle, whatever the hell else is out there. 0 snaps where we borrowed the backside safety. And I think that's what makes 3 high great. I hate borrowing the backside safety. I think when I talk to people on offense about 3-by-1, it's like, all right, here's your theories. Did they use the backside safety to the front side? Yes or no? Right. I think that makes you smart as an offensive coordinator. So, if it's 2-back and a sniffer is number 3, we'll key off that. If it's somebody who is heavy tight end sniffer orientated, sometimes we'll play off him if it fits the scheme. 2-by-2, we fit off the back, game to game. So it's actually very simplistic. And we play all the same split field coverages around it. The easiest way I could probably say it to you is the middle safety is really the mic in our split field coverage. That's the easiest way I could say it to you. We don't tie the mic into any of our coverages. The mic is a spy. He's an add-on. He's a late rusher. He's our 4th down. When we go to 4 down fronts, he's our 4th down. When we go to mint front. So it's a split field world where the middle safety takes the responsibility of the mic, because the mic is the 3 vertical player in any quarters toolbox, right? That's common sense football. It's been that way forever. When 3 was always coming from the formation or from the backfield, people could play quarters. 3-by-1 checks and guys that were vertical, the tight end that could go vertical with a Mike linebacker that has a run fit and a tight end's better than him. That's what got people into 3-by-1 coverages, right? 3-by-1 removed with Percy Harvin at number 3. I'm not matching him with a linebacker vertical, right? So that's the evolution of the game. That's kind of where it went. But in any quarters toolbox scheme, the Mike play side inside linebacker has 3 vertical if you're middle of the field open, right? So we just replaced that with the middle safety, who's a better coverage player, if that makes sense. Yeah, maybe they are, Tony. I don't know. A lot of people do it, but I think it's crazy. We're going from inside zone RPO. We got grass throws, but I have a hard time determining with I want zone read RPO 100%. If you're going to zone read, treat it as an option play and not an RPO. If you're going to RPO it, lock the backside and treat it as more of a, I don't want to say an isolation theory, but it's more of a man theory where they got 5 in a box, you're blocking 5, and you're RPOing 6 and throwing grass throws off 7, if that makes sense. Yeah, I would say that at over time, Philly, I probably got away from learning more about the pass game and the exotics of the pass game, because I think pass protection is very difficult in high school football. I will 100% tell you, if you can throw the ball in high school, if you can protect the quarterback and you have quality concepts, you will beat everybody's ass, because nobody can cover. Teams are man or they're zones, and they don't know how to play matchup zones. It's just that people can't take advantage of it because either they got dudes at 5 techniques or they blitz and you don't have man answers. We have some great teams around us that play 0 all the time. And I think we have some really good man answers. I think our head coach is about as good as there is on that side of the ball. And we get smoked and they don't change. And, we had formations, we had picks, we had rubs, we had motions, we had compressed, we had bunch, we had everything. And we couldn't get open, so I don't knock that style. If that's how you play football, you win a lot of games. They beat our ass. Go get it. Have fun, But I would honestly say to you that And that's why the 7-on-7 world gets a little crazy. You see a lot of teams that won't compete in 11-on-11 beat some ass in 7-on-7 because the quarterback has nobody in his face, wide open throwing lanes. He's got 3 seconds to throw, and guys have 3 seconds to get open. When you start playing those teams that play man and send six, a lot of times in high school, you have 0.6 seconds to get the ball to somebody. So as much as I agree with you, Philly, I think my passing ideas are okay. I think I'm decent in the passing game. That's probably one of my weaknesses, to be honest with you, even though I played receiver. But I'm not sold on drop back passes being the way to go in high school. That's just me. But I will say, whether this is contrarian or not, if you could protect and throw the ball, I think you'd win a ton of games because I don't think there's people that understand coverage structures. Just my opinion. Yeah, and that's probably like the most generic spacing video in the world, Philly. So many people that do so much better shit in spacing than we do, but I'm a three-man snag whore. Everything I do is off a three-man snag, 8 different ways to get guys open with double moves, and that was just my world. That's what I loved. I love Noma zone. So maybe I got a little bit complacent. Some people called it rigid, simplistic, whatever. That's their opinion. Don't really care, but I would say that that's my weakness if there is one. Ever uncovered 2 read codes. That's all we play, Paul. So as a quarters toolbox team, anytime 2's removed, that's our first check. That's all we play. We don't play at the tight end flanker, maybe to the boundary we could, but we play at the 2 removed. It's our quarters answers to 2 removed. And, I'm glad I said my head coach is decent at football because he's on here right now, which is awesome. But in the spacing world, way better people out there than me. Drop back world, way better people out there than me. 7-on-7 world, way better people out there than me. I have what I like. I know what I do. And that's that. And that's it. As Manolo would say on Instagram, that's it. All right, let's go. Not going to be able to stay on here long, but I appreciate learning everything. Jonathan, thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you for PlayFast following. And that's why we're here. On the passing game, there was one video where you said something like 65% or more high school offenses run. I think it's 80% if you ask me. I think it's 80%, and 35% true drop back is an anomaly. It's an anomaly at our place. It's an anomaly at all the places I coach against. It's now screens. It's bubbles. It's quick game. It's, drop back is not a world a lot of people live in. They can get on here and tell you they do. I don't believe it. It's not a thing. I think in a 7-on-7 world, it's a thing, and I think it's great. I think it helps us in coverage, defend those things. I love defending our offense because I feel like we can match up with any passing game on our schedule. But I don't think drop back passing in high school is a major thing. That's, again, opinion. I think you need to throw the ball. I think vertical shots is a better way to go about it. Excuse me. Unfortunately, I think I'm getting worse. I think vertical shots, play action shots, screens. We do a great job screening people. One of the better screen teams, I would think, in the area, especially the tunnel screen. Really, really great at running tunnels. I think if you really analyze it and you said, okay, I try and make it real simple. When guys ask me about drop back stuff, I say, okay, tell me how many times you think you're going to throw the ball in a base game plan. I'm not talking about you're losing. Base game plan, you go in, how many times you want to throw it? Let's say somebody says 25. Okay. How many of those are screens? All right, 5. How many of those are boots? 3. How many of those are action passes? 3. How many of those are quick game? 4. Okay, well, now from that 25 passes that you just threw, only 8 of them are drop back. How many concepts can you carry into a game knowing that you're only going to drop back and throw the ball 8 times? All right. Yes, you throw it 25. I agree with that. But 25 of your passes are not drop back theories. All right, well, what do I do on 3rd and long? Okay, stay out of 3rd and long. You're going to build your playbook backwards off 3rd and long? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Do you need something vertical down the field to convert on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9? Yeah, you do. I get it. I don't think that's where you start with your playbook. So again, I would, and I've said it to people over and over, I bang my head against the wall a million times, and I still continue to do it. Don't ask me why. I don't think it's the avenue that a lot of people go down that they think they're going down. I think if they charted their stuff, they don't drop back and throw the ball that many times a game. I would say we probably do more than most people on our schedule in our area, but I still don't think we drop back and throw it that much. Uh, so, again, ask me what concepts I would carry. I don't know if I could tell you anymore. I don't know all the fancy terms that people use. I just know that if you're only going to drop back 8 times a game, I know I wouldn't carry 17 concepts. I can tell you that. I might carry 2 or 3 and create different ways to present them. Maybe shifts, trades, motions, compressed sets, whatever. I don't think I would carry 17. 17 is probably a big number. 8, 10, whatever it is. I don't think I would do that. But again, opinion, right? And because we have this platform, I get to give my opinion. So I would like to RPO 100% of the time. That's the world I live in. But I will carry read game. I will carry power read. I will carry counter bash, or I will carry dart read. If my quarterback, I think athletic quarterbacks that can run are easy to find in high school. I think the throwers are harder to find. The ones that can do both, you got a chance of winning a lot of games. But I do think there's value to being able to block some runs that you don't RPO. In hindsight, looking back at it, but I would RPO everything. It drives me nuts on defense. So why not do it on offense? Yeah, O-line guys get pissed because they block something right and you pull it and throw it. All right, sorry, don't be an O-line guy, be a coordinator. If you're going to get pissed about that and you don't want to run RPOs, don't be an O-line guy, be an offensive coordinator, and you call the plays. That's what I would say. Now, be careful because you can't piss those guys off because they're hard to find, and the success of your offense is probably predicated on how good your O-line coach and your O-line is. As a head coach, I love them to death. As a PlayFast guy and a YouTube guy, if you don't like RPOs because you want to run the ball, call plays. Become a coordinator. When adopting 2 read, was cornerback safety read on 2 vertical a problem for long? We have our own way of determining it. Our way that we use right now is deeper than safety level. We don't use yards. We don't go steps, yards. It's anything that's deeper than our Sam linebacker, down safety, whoever it may be, the apex player. We have to make sure that our apex players don't line up 2 yards off the ball. We have to make sure in 2 read, it's the apex guy. Now, when we play quarters, it's the inside backer. So if my safety's playing quarters on a tight end, my Sam is probably tighter to the ball, so I don't want vertical declared deeper than him. If I'm playing 2 read, my Sam should probably be heels at 5, 6, or 5, whatever it may be, maybe 4. I don't know, depending on game plan. And then if it's pass, he needs to drop so that vertical makes it, and he needs to keep. The biggest thing is having an apex and when you're playing 2 read, having an apex that can keep number 2 outside of him, so it makes the vertical easier to declare. When your apex gets really wide and 2 rips inside of him, it looks like an under route to your safety. So we have a different way of dealing with under routes. We never double number 1. We never get off it. If it goes under, we defend the post, just because I've been beaten by the dirty vertical before where people go under, or the high cross, Y cross, it kills us. Currently looking at a different way to play it from 3 high, where our 3 high safety might be able to help us. Our safeties, when those guys start going across the field at 8 to 10 yards, you either have to tell the other safety, you don't know what's going on the other side of the ball. So I can't tell the other safety to turn back and collect that. The front side, I know my guy's going across. So maybe we could trade it off if it was some type of down the field crossing theory. But one of the things we do that helps us a ton is if we get what we think is an under route, and we try and define that by, hey, shoulders are turned, face mask is facing the sideline. If you can see the school on his chest at all, or his face mask at all, even if he's crossing the field, that's still vertical to us. You hang on that with inside leverage as long as you can. Yes, it opens up the post for the corner. Yes, we have to change how we play the post all the time. We gave up almost no post routes down the field this year. And I don't think it's anything we did. It's just that I don't think a lot of people are good at throwing it. So we close the middle of the field too. You got to carry other stuff. So ran out of characters. I meant to say that a little bit of passing, not much of the drop back. Yeah, I would agree with you, Tony, 100%. We have high turnover here. I love the concept, but being on the same page sometimes is hard when guys are always in and out of the line. Yeah, we play guys both ways. So, if you mean coaches, yes, it's tough for us too. Coaches turnover here. If you mean players in and out of the program, or offensive and defensive guys, yes, we deal with the same thing. So volume of what you carry is always going to be a little bit of an issue. 10 passes max. Yeah, that would be great, but I don't know if you can throw 10 passes a game, Scondell, you got a pretty good program. And if you can win games throwing 10 passes a game, by all means, please do it. That would be the greatest way to play. Maybe not as exciting as people want, but I guarantee if you're only throwing 10 passes a game and winning 9, 10 games a year, or winning state titles, of the 10 you throw, 2 or 3 of them are home runs that go because you're obviously good enough that they've got to put 13 guys in the box. So I think that's a good theory.
inside zone RPO and counter read, then carry some inside on ISO, split zone and GH counter, some outside sweep plays. Yeah, so all of those deals in my head are RPO worlds, with the exception of probably counter read. Counter read becomes quarterback run game option world. Split zone to me is RPO world unless you bluff the backside guy. Now it's read option world. Zone ISO to me is RPO world. We run GY counter. I run GY counter as an RPO. We run power RPOs. Yes, we read power and off a jet sweep, but I think all those things that you just laid out, other than counter read, are all RPO deals to me personally. Coach from the box. I was on the field this year, Philly. Good experience. Needed it. Needed to feel what it was like to be on the field and work for somebody else and not be able to act the way that I acted when I was a head coach. By the end of the year, I probably was almost emotionless on the sideline. I got to try and find a middle ground between celebrating success and not going ballistic when we're not having success, which is difficult. But I think I kind of figured it out early in the year. I think I got a couple of warnings for being on the field and other bullshit that I think they pick on me because of my accent or whatever. But by the end of the year, I don't think I got any more warnings. I constantly had somebody assigned to me as a get back coach, tugging on my shirt like I'm damn Brent Venables. But it was most of our other assistant coaches that were getting all the warnings and the other stuff, not me. So I think I figured it out by the end of the year. But I didn't like I'm nowhere near as animated as I used to be, and we had some great results against some great programs. And as a head coach 2 or 3 years ago, I would have been running around the sideline like a freaking lunatic. The teams where I knew guys on the other sideline, I may have been making animated gestures at them while we were scoring touchdowns or picking passes off, because they were certainly going to make gestures at me when they were scoring. So, I'm kind of out of that world now. I'm in my own world. I do what I do, and like I said, I like it. I like it a bunch. If my advice is needed, and it's asked, I'll give it. If my advice on game management is asked, I'll give it. I'm not going to throw it out there unless somebody wants to hear it. But again, just feeding off the offensive side and what they're doing and trying to figure out how I want to call plays is the biggest change. And took a while, but I think I've got it figured out now. I think I know our kids. I think I know our program, and we're trying to get to a point where we don't play as many kids both ways. That's the goal. Not there yet, but I think we're getting there. So, again, thank you all of you guys for being on here. It's been an hour and 30 minutes. Glad we got some ball in. Glad that we got the Baltic states covered. Glad that we got Brazil. Glad that we got, people from Germany on here. It was a very interesting topic today on the text thread. And I think once again, it proves its validity. PlayFast is what it is. The reach of PlayFast is what it is. The market of PlayFast is what it is. The guy running it is just not good enough to make it what it should be. I mean, that's probably the bottom line, right? So the guy running it's got to get better. The guy running it's got to take some chances and do some things. Whether those chances are going to bed with some of the other people, I don't know if I want to make other people money because they have a platform to make money. Yes, it makes me more money, but I'm making them money off my PlayFast following. That's the only reason they're asking me. You're not asking me because I have 15 state titles. You're not asking me because I'm Hall of Fame. You're asking me because you want the people like you that are on there. You're asking me because you want a demographic in Brazil, Portugal, Panama, Serbia, Latvia, although Canada. You want that demographic because you can't reach it on your own. That part, I'm smart enough to know that. So I'm smart enough to figure out that they can't reach the people I can reach. I know that part. I'm just not smart enough to sell it. So, hopefully with some shaming from some other people, and some public shaming, maybe they can get me to change. Maybe they can get me to figure out how to follow the money. Not sure if I will change. I'm a little bit too vindictive to change. But at some point I'm talking about business. It's a business model. Either I follow the money or I don't, so, one thing I can tell you, YouTube is never changing. PlayFast is never changing. I might come up with different ideas. I might do interviews. I might do drill work. I might bring guests onto YouTube, but this platform is not going away. It's why we are here today. So again, appreciate all you guys. I want to do a video tomorrow. Would like to do an offensive video. I just got to figure out if there's anything out there worthwhile in the mundane offensive world that is football. Is there any hotness out there? Is there anything worth talking about? I don't know. I'm sure somebody knows, but I don't. So might be another defensive video. I don't know. Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it. Hope you guys do well at Orange Park. Not on our schedule, so
seeing those kids do well and you do well doesn't hurt my feelings at all. So again, thank you, Will, for everything you do. You're on here every time we go. So again, guys, I'll keep you guys abreast of if the clinic gets off its feet. And I will keep you informed of that. Again, I do have a Patreon site that has clinic clips from our last clinic. I do have a Patreon site that has me showing game clips. I do have a Patreon site that has me on Just Play in playbook software, not on a whiteboard. So if you're interested in that version, patreon.com, Coach Mac, that's what it is. It's like $4.99 a month. Shameless plug. I don't throw it out there much because I hate asking people to be. I love subscribers on YouTube because none of you pay anything. You know, maybe somebody put a super sticker up there or a super emoji one time, but I don't ask you guys for money. That's not what I want. So yeah, Tony, hopefully we're alive. Hopefully I'm alive for the 20th anniversary. Football and a lot of other hard living is taking its toll. And hopefully I'm there 10 years from now and healthy enough to wipe my hands and healthy enough to move my hands and healthy enough to say, okay, do all the things that piss people off. I like people getting agitated. Thanks. You know, again, if you want to talk about I rub my hands too much, thanks for watching the video. I didn't ask you to watch it. You watched it. Thanks for the CPM. Thanks for the click. I will tell you one thing, guys, that I did learn. If you put a fancy college NFL team coach in the title of your YouTube videos, the videos get watched 70% more. The video that I did on TCU not being stacked was a spur of a moment thing. I was pissed off that everybody was talking about TCU being a stacked team. They are the furthest thing from a stacked team. And I did that video and TCU was in the title. Within a week, it had 3,000 views. I did a third down presentations and a safety rotation video that I think were 100 times better than the video I did on TCU. And they will get nowhere near the volume just because of the clickbait in the title. So I haven't given in to the full optimization yet. I haven't given in to full clickbait yet. But I can tell you on the YouTube side, if any of you do YouTube or you do anything on social media, if you put the hot name out there, it's 100% football porn. People go to it right away. That's why the guys do PDFs. That's why they do all 22 clips. Everybody is just in love with seeing a certain play from the national championship game. Hey, look at them. Look at them in empty running mesh with the big spot. Great. Good for you. That's your gig. Have at it. It definitely generates more interest and a bigger market because it's football pornography. That's what it is. So, again, try and do some videos in the future that have those big code words in them so that people like you that are dedicated followers, you're going to get it because your notification's on. People that are scrolling YouTube, hey, look what he just said about Georgia. Hey, look what he said about Kirby Smart. Hey, look what he said about, Sonny Dykes. Hey, look what he said about Colin Klein. Seems to be the way to draw more viewers. Hopefully, though, if I do that, I can talk about something relevant because there's nothing that pisses me off more than clicking on a title of a golf video or a wrestling video, or in the wrestling world is the worst of all. They will put out a hot rumor in the title and not cover it one time, and it has nothing to do with a guy quitting, retiring, or leaving, but you click on it to watch it, and you spend 15 minutes watching, and that story's not even in there. So I've been down that road. I hate it. It drives me nuts, but congrats to those guys because they end up with 1 million views on one video. So thanks for everything you guys do. Thanks for letting me rant. Thanks for letting me throw some jabs out there at the things that I like jabbing. Thanks for all the worldwide support. Again, 10 years down, 10 years coming up. Hopefully the next 10 are better than the first 10. Remember, guys, you won't play well until you play fast. See you next time.